So I doubt any of you know this, but along with being a massive college football fan, I also love getting platinum trophies. And despite having a couple gems up my sleeve like Wolfenstein 2, 2K20, and My Name is Mayo, my proudest trophy hunting achievement is that I've platinumed every single Madden since 2014. And with the return of college football, I knew that I had to try and see if I could get another streak going. I planned on getting this trophy in 4 phases with Road to the College Football Playoff, Ultimate Team, Dynasty Mode, and then Cleanup. And I even had the side mission of getting all of this done on Heisman, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. I figured that the best place for me to start was with Road to the CFP, which is an online mode where I could get used to the switch from Madden, and as long as I played decently well, all the trophies would come pretty naturally. When I booted it up, our first game was against the Ohio State Buckeyes, which was a perfect opportunity for a tough game to test my skills, and he quit. I should probably show you guys why he quit though, as on the last play of the game, we got a pick with Zaki Wheatley, which earned us It's a Turnover for our first trophy of the day, and just a few seconds later, he was out of here. On our way back to the loading screen, we got Shall We Play a Game for starting our Road to the CFP journey, as well as what an upset, because Penn State is a Tier 2 team, while Ohio State is a Tier 1 team. Our next game though was against another Tier 1 team with Oregon, so I knew it would be a tough matchup, and he quit. Our next matchup was actually really interesting though, as our opponent was playing as Indiana, which is the school I'm currently at, and he quit. That game did inspire me though to play as Indiana, and I got to go up against the LSU Tigers in Death Valley, and he quit. Thankfully in our next game though, we did have something exciting to break up all the quitting, as I was able to hand the ball off to Nick Singleton, make a couple guys miss, and get all the way into the end zone for a 50-yard touchdown, the breakaway speed trophy, and he quit. It was at this point that I started to notice a trend and decided to give myself another side mission of trying to get all 10 Road to the CFP opponents to quit. That task would prove to be difficult though, as this game was tied in the 4th, and as I was driving trying to score, he quit. That was then followed up by 2 more quits from the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide, and then on our second to last game, we got an 80+ yard touchdown pass to Julian Fleming to earn us the Big Play trophy, and he quit. That meant that we would go into our 10th and final game with 9 quits and a chance to get our 10th against the West Virginia Mountaineers. He actually scored first though to take a 6-0 lead, and he quit. Fortunately though, that meant that we had completed our side mission, and it was now time to go into the playoffs, where we'd be taking on Michigan in the national championship game. Despite holding a late lead, he would score in the final minute to go in front, and as tempting as it was, I did not quit so that he could watch his celebration. On our way back to the loading screen, we were rewarded with moving on up for advancing to the freshman division, which meant that we could cross Road to the CFP off our list and start on Ultimate Team. Now in Madden, Ultimate Team is my absolute favorite mode, but in this game, there's only 2 Ultimate Team trophies, meaning that our time with the mode would be brief. First up was completing 10 challenges, which even though I did on the hardest difficulty were all pretty easy, with scoring a couple touchdowns, kicking a couple field goals, and before I knew it, I had completed 10 for challenge accepted. Then after going out to the main menu and coming back into Ultimate Team, I got the It All Starts Here trophy. That meant that it was time to cross off Ultimate Team already and move on to Dynasty Mode, where I needed 3 trophies for making the playoffs, winning the Heisman, and winning the national championship. I don't think I could have done this with any team other than Penn State, and even though Robert Brandt looks nothing like Coach Franklin, we were ready to go. Pretty early on into our first game against the Mountaineers, it became clear who we should have go for the Heisman for us, as Nick Singleton was able to score 5 touchdowns on the day, which got him the National Offensive Player of the Week, not just this week, but the next 2 weeks as well, which was good enough to get him on the Heisman watch list. Then just 2 weeks later, he was able to move up to that #1 spot on the Heisman watch. It was also around this time that I decided to double check and make sure that the dynasty was on Heisman, and I promise it was. After another week of smooth sailing, we did have a slip up against Wisconsin, as I accidentally let this game get to overtime. And despite being able to score a touchdown on my final play, I accidentally made a simulation mistake, which caused the 2-point conversion to be simmed by the computer who didn't get it, which meant that we had lost to Wisconsin. We then had a couple more weeks of smooth sailing until I made another simulation mistake, this time against Purdue, which caused us to fumble, not be able to get the ball back, and we had yet another loss on our record, this time to Purdue. Thankfully though, Nick Singleton was still #1 in the Heisman watch, and as long as we didn't lose another game this season, we would keep our spot in the playoff bracket. That's exactly what happened, and after simming the conference championship week, we would get the Heisman Moment trophy as Nick Singleton had officially won the Heisman. It was then time for the playoffs as we'd be taking on Tennessee in the first round, and after beating them on our way back to the dashboard, got the playoff-bound trophy. Then in the quarterfinals, we beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl in order to lift the Leishman Trophy, followed by the Utah Utes in the Cotton Bowl to advance to the national championship, where we'd be taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. At the end of the game, it was time for Discount Coach Franklin to lift the national championship trophy, and we got to do the same with the last one standing trophy for winning the national championship. This meant that we had finished Dynasty mode, and all that was left to do was the last 4 cleanup trophies. I decided to start with From the Community, which is for playing a game with a custom roster, and after playing as BMS, we got the Let's Go trophy for completing a Play Now game, but unfortunately not from the community. We'd come back to that though, as next up was Unbelievable Finish, which is for scoring a touchdown to win on the last play of the game against a rival. And as you can see, we didn't get it on our first attempt, but after about 5 or 6 more tries, we scored to win on the last play of the game and get the Unbelievable Finish trophy. I decided to try again for From the Community, and after downloading another team and playing another game with them, the trophy still hadn't popped. After doing a bit of research, I discovered that the only way to get this trophy was to import a custom team into Dynasty mode, load up a game with them, and after doing exactly that, the trophy finally popped. This meant that the last trophy to do was Dual Threat, which is for getting 200 rushing and passing yards with the same player in the same game. Now throughout this challenge, I expected to use the Indiana Hoosiers a bit more than I had so far, so I decided that for my last game for the Platinum, I'd play against them. I also made sure to set the quarter length to 7 minutes so I'd have plenty of time to get all the yards I needed. Now after scrambling with Drew Aller a couple times and not picking up as many yards as I was hoping for, I was worried I'd have to change my plans until I remembered that I can do a designed quarterback run out of empty and decided to stick with that, as well as airing it out a couple times, and even though I thought I'd have to wait until the end of the game, during the third quarter, the trophy popped, and we had the CFB 25 Platinum. According to PSN profiles, this took us 8 hours and 18 minutes, which is good enough for the 55th fastest time. Let me know if you guys want to see me platinum any other games, and if this is something I should do more of. If you made it this far, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.